Hi, welcome to the Diplomats. We're back. We've taken a little hiatus like our players. If our players get a 2 week hiatus, we get a 2 week hiatus. And our players have taken a hiatus. So now we're back, though. We're hoping to get through the last four seasons here. We are on the spring 1907. Our podcast is brought to you, as always, by diplomacybriefing.com, where you can get all your latest information on the hobby of diplomacy. Just sign up for free at diplomacybriefing.com. And I'm here with my two diplomats, Audacious Hand and Don Superstition Stitches. We're here to talk about spring 1907. Good evening, guys. How you doing?
Just coming back from a concert, so I'll be a little noisy for a little bit.
I'm doing all right.
All right. Well, I wonder if you're doing all right as Russia here. Because when you look at spring 1907, that certainly is the big move. Is it an RT? What is it? Tanjian makes his move here against Russia, forcing Romania to disband retreat to the Black Sea. What do you guys think of that?
So the fact that he retreated means it's not a disband of the fleet. I feel like
No, he retreated to the Black Sea. It's not it's not a disband. I thought it might be a disband.
I thought it might be too, but yeah, with that retreat, it definitely doesn't look planned. I think Tangent can really just stab whoever he wants at this point, so it's his game to lose.
I mean, it's an interesting endgame play in the sense that he's kind of lashing out in all directions now, where he pushed Italy out of the Ionian Sea and he's attacking Russia. So he might be just ready for some tactical kung fu here. I mean, diplomatically, I know it's been a while, but if you guys recall, there was a big meltdown between Italy and Russia. So he might be banking on the fact that they will be unable to cooperate against him. So in that sense, it's kind of a good time to stab Russia. I will say, though, I mean, the reaction in public chat was people dancing in the streets and celebrating this. I do worry it's a little bit of a departure from the kind of the style that got him here. And if you do look at the board, I mean, unless France helps him, which I don't see why France would, considering they're neck and neck. Italy can actually, if France helps Italy, and in order to creep up on him, France can put himself in a good position to win and also push Turkey back. So it is an interesting stab. I mean, I almost would have wanted to stick with Russia because they're a little bit isolated and maybe concentrate on getting that army into the boot or something, a convoy. Yeah.
When I saw this for a day, I thought, oh, well, it's a spring move. So Turkey will disband the fleet. But clearly, unless
it
has to have been a stab, I think it might be a little early. My thought was they got 6 seasons left, or 7. Now you've got 2 enemies. All on the other hand, Russia and Italy Italy despises Russia, as we can tell. So I mean, it's hard to get former enemies on the same page.
Yeah, and also that fleet would have been safely parked in Romania, and now it's in the Black Sea. Now, of course, he can build a fleet and then push it out, assuming he holds Romania. But it's not as easy as a situation as it appears at face value. But one thing that does occur to me is that I think, if I'm not incorrect, Turkey has the tiebreaker. And Russia. Yeah, so I mean, he might be banking on the fact that maybe he can keep everyone will stay at 7, and then he would win. A kind of famous Pez ending, basically. Also, it is true that Russia was about to move to Budapest, so this would have been his only chance for a sure take of Romania. But I definitely would have considered kind of trying to whittle Italy down a little more here, especially since Russia probably would have helped you, and maybe if you had played upon his resentment, might have even have been willing to kind of give you the win if things went bad for him. So,
but it gives a lifeline to Italy in some ways, and
yes.
you know, you know, putting an army on the boot and all the things you mentioned, that might be off the table right now.
It does give a lifeline to Italy. I mean, maybe he's just banking that Italy's resentment is such that he would rather take Russia down with him rather than really fight for his position on the board. I mean, the support in Ionian does, I think, pretty strongly, and the fact that it is the Ionian Sea in general in Italy probably be loath to give that up. That suggests that it's a kind of two-fronted stab. So we'll see what he does here. Maybe we'll get to see Tenjian just flex some tactical muscle in a kind of final showdown. But I agree. There's a part of me that thinks it's a little early. I'm not quite on board with the celebrations.
Maybe he thinks he's got French support. I don't know. Maybe they're like, let's divide it up and see who gets the most.
I mean, that's a dangerous game.
Speaking of which,
he's got the upper hand now, and he's possibly going a little bit too far, spreading his fleets out.
You know, speaking of which, when we look at this board, that is essentially the only real move to talk about, Romania and then Ionian. Other than that, I think there are 5 successful moves. Galicia moves to Budapest unopposed, Marseille to Lyon, Belgium to Holland, North Atlantic to Irish. I might be missing one, but nothing else substantively happens. I mean, I'm just sort of amazed that the North is almost seems an entire stalemate, even though it's not stalemated. It's just stalemated de facto, with the 2 units for England locked up in the North, in the center part of the map, on the eastern part of the map, and now we got 3 fleets in the western part of the map. But it doesn't look to me to be a fairly exciting game by any of the other powers.
I will say one thing I find perplexing is just this England just continuously pinning Germany down like this. I mean, I honestly I've lost track of how many moves this has been going on, but
let Germany go free. Let them have chaos against somebody else. I was like, do something.
The only place for Germany to go is against your 2 rivals. Why would you be pinning them down? It almost seems personal or something. Yeah. The Prussian hold of Berlin was perplexing at first, but then I realized he just doesn't want a convoy to Prussia. So, yeah, it's pretty it's certainly not the most exciting moveset. I mean, maybe Marseille de Lyon could turn into something interesting, but
well, and you know, France is moving to Holland. I can't imagine right now France is going to attack Germany. It has to be defensive in a way.
Yeah, you're just covering it.
You're just covering it.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much I would like to see Denmark convoy to Picardy and Baltic to Denmark or something, you know.
I'm really perplexed. I think England. I find England's play absolutely bizarre and kind of suboptimal. France's play makes sense, but it's incredibly cautious, to the point of being snoozeworthy, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I have to be honest. I don't even really feel like grading most of this except for Turkey. And there, the only question is whether it was too soon or if there wasn't really a better time. Everyone else is just nothing to write home about.
You want to just do a lightning round?
We'll do a lightning round. Turkey's grade.
Turkey gets a B. just because I'm not sure about the timing.
Stitches.
I think it's a B just because I'm not sure about the timing, but I think that if the reputations stay the same and the relationship, that he probably will still be able to pick up a lot before things get resolved.
I give it a B plus. I mean, I think it's probably, even though I question whether it was early enough. I mean, I think we've seen from Ewok that he's more than capable of just entering Budapest supports Romania 6 times in a row. So he may not. This may have been his only chance.
Yeah.
Okay, Russia's grade.
I mean, all support holds and one getting stabbed. The aesthetics are terrible. He predicted wrong. I mean, maybe you should have known that bottle of resentment in Turkey's cellar was had reached the perfect age, but it's a little hard to fault him for it. But I'd still give him a D.
I'm going to give him a D. His only ally is Germany, and he just got stabbed.
It's a straight D. I don't really understand. Yeah, I mean, I hear you on Prussia supporting Berlin, but there's no reason for it. I mean, that Prussian army's got to go somewhere. What's the plan for growth?
Yeah, I mean, it's just to cover Prussia, because if England malevolently convoyed that army over there or something, then he could crack the defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only reason.
Italy's grade. I also give Russia a D.
D as well. The cheeky kind of pointing to Moscow is a little heavy-handed and kind of almost embarrassing as he gets pushed out of the Ionian Sea. It looks like he might have gotten lied to again by France. He's not really going anywhere. It just seems almost more like a survive and take vengeance game at this point.
I don't know how to grade him. You grade him. Well, how did he do with what he had?
I'm going to give him a D just because you knew that fleet was going to go into Lyon. You should have bounced it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing in mid-Atlantic for you. You don't even want to be there for a change. But yeah, you should have bounced Lyon. That would have gave him at least another turn to breathe, because mid-Atlantic isn't coming out anytime soon.
I mean, my guess is that France once again told him he was going to support him into MAO and go into the North Atlantic or something, and it didn't, in order to take the Gulf of Lyon. That'd be my guess, in any case.
Yeah,
I'm just not. That makes it sound like he's doing a favor.
I'm just not super in love with it. I mean, I don't. D plus, C minus. But I just don't know what he could have done better. Bouncing in Lyon would have been one thing.
He had his fleet split anyways. I don't know why he didn't keep a different fleet than West, but.
All right. France's grade.
I mean, it's a C to me. I really just, it's kind of like, it's a little boring to me how passive he is about cracking England's very permeable defenses, especially when England like missed multiple opportunities to seal off that part of the board. I mean, I guess it makes sense to cover some of his centers after he's cheekily got away with leaving Holland open so many times. He did take Gulf of Lyon, but just pretty neutral, defensive, kind of just in line with the way he's played this game. So it's a C, kind of forgettable.
It's a C. He did basic moves. There's nothing extravagant going on. There's no plan. Expected moves. It's fun.
I give it a C, but it's kind of incomplete for me also. I mean, if this is Italy's only got 4 units. The problem is that I think the time for France is now to make up with England.
Nothing wrong with a C. It's just you do what you're expected
Average.
to do.
You did average, Philip. I'm sure you're in growing up, average was bad for you, but it's average. I mean, you know, Germany's great. Well, kept all his home centers that he got back, so I give that a, you know, I give him a B, but you've got to get on some sort of page with England here.
Yeah, I'd still give it a C. It's pretty much everything's the same. He didn't pick up Holland back. I don't know. He's still got beef with England, which makes no sense. So
Yeah, there's a diplomatic failure with England. They're just pinning each other down. It almost looks like they both lied to each other. Like maybe Germany thought that he could sneak into Denmark, and maybe England thought that Germany thought he could sneak in Denmark and he could take Kiel. You could have done something a little more dynamic with Munich. I mean, even if you were going to side with Russia, maybe you could bring Munich down into Tyrolia with his support or something. Yeah, it's boring.
what if they convinced each other to work together and they just went to stab and they both failed?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, and England still tied for the board top. Oh, what did you give the grade, Hand? I missed it.
Oh, I forget, but I'll give him a C. It's just neutral.
England's great here. Stitches.
Uh,
Yeah, I give it an F too. Actually, I think he's wasting his position. I mean, keeping Germany tied down makes absolutely no sense unless it's part of some offer to other powers. A lot of fun things he could have done with those units instead. He could have blocked Denmark with the Baltic and convoyed over to Picardy if he did want to take an aggressive stance.
move to York just in case the fleet gets by eventually.
I mean, I also you would love that if you moved to York, wouldn't you? I also will say though, it's kind of interesting that he stopped. Like he's not actively. Yeah, no, it's an F. Yeah, it's an F. It's pretty boring. He's not doing anything. He's actually pinning down the one person who could probably help him break out of his position. He still just doesn't seem to want to consolidate in the West where his units would be more useful. I don't get it. You know.
Should England throw a bone to Russia and support Prussia into Berlin in the fall? Now that Russia's getting a disband.
Yes, but I think that ship has sailed. I mean, if they were going to do that, it would have been before Russia helped Germany get back to 3. That's when we thought that there was the grand VI tagging deception. That's kind of what we thought was going to happen. But I think I say Riaz, like you can't. He's beefing with so many different people at this point. You can't win just by beefing with all your neighbors. You know, like
there's a 3-front war.
Yeah, and it seems like fairly cordial, at least with France, but I don't know what's going on though with Germany. It does seem to be devolving into almost like a personal squabble, unless I'm not reading the board right. And then obviously with Russia, there's the rivalry there. So yeah, it's kind of a diplomatic failure and it's boring tactically.
All right, well, fellas, that is it for the spring 1907. I wish I could tell you that this was a great episode. It wasn't. We're all a little off because our competitors seem off. This is the time when they're supposed to make moves. Yeah. They're not entertaining us. They're boring us. So we're going to bore our listeners. In fact, if you've gotten this far, if you're a listener, I feel kind of sorry for you. I don't know what you're going to be doing with the rest of your day, but it's not going to be anything less productive than this.
Yeah. They've locked themselves into this kind of a pattern of resentment that is a little bit stultifying. Yeah, not great.
Well, if we're looking at it, we have 6 Ewoks and 1 Kutuzov on this board, and the Kutuzov is the guy who got stabbed by him last year. But all right, thanks to our competitors. You may suck, but you are the reason we're here. And we're trying hard to talk about your play, but we're struggling. Good job, Tanj, the only one with good grades. And we will be back to discuss the fall 1907 moves. Thanks again to diplomacybriefing.com.